Silencio, por favor.
Hola, soy Madonna.
Santa Madonna.
Estoy caliente.
Puta.
El primer podcast de Madonna.
Buenas noches, Latinoamérica.
En español.
¡Estoy lista!
Muchos besos. ¡Mua!
Hola, ¿cómo están? ¿Cómo estás, Agustín?
Hola Parry, hola a todos y todas y todes.
Este es un episodio muy especial porque tenemos con nosotros a Giulio de Madonna Songbook, el nuevo libro. Hola, Giulio.
Hola,
Bienvenido.
¿qué tal?
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias.
Gracias a vos por estar con nosotros.
Es un placer.
Qué maravilloso, hermoso libro. Y gracias a nuestros oyentes por estar del otro lado. Este es un episodio especial. Vamos a hablarles a ustedes primero que nos escuchan. Esto es Santamadonna, obviamente, y que nos escuchan del otro lado, desde donde estén. Si están escuchándonos solamente por esta vez, les vamos a pedir, como Giulio es nuestro invitado especial esta vez, vamos a hacer la entrevista en otro idioma, vamos a hacerla en inglés, y si pueden vernos en Spotify va a estar subtitulada, o en YouTube también va a estar subtitulada, así que la mayoría va a estar en inglés y pueden vernos ahí y seguirla con los subtítulos. Así que gracias por estar. Así que ahora vamos a pasarnos al inglés, así podemos hablar mejor con Giulio, que está en Milán.
Milano,
Thank you for being
Italia.
here. Milano, Italia. How are you doing, Giulio? Thank you for being with us. How are you?
It's a great pleasure. I'm very happy to be with you. I've always been listening to Santa Madonna, sometimes at a very slow speed, so that I understand. Usually you put podcast 1.5% and you speed it up. Yours, I play it slower so I can understand Spanish.
It's an honor. Thank you so much. And congratulations on Madonna Songbook. It's amazing what you have accomplished with this book. You have been premiering this book all over Italy. And it's let's talk to our listeners about Giulio. Giulio Mazzoleni is the creator of a Madonna Songbook. It's a book that, lo voy a decir en español rápidamente, es un libro que fue editado hace días nomás, donde se toma el trabajo canción por canción, incluyendo demos, versiones en vivo, remixes, de recorrer 45 años de carrera de Madonna como artista musical, entrando en detalle de cada una de más de 500 canciones, poniendo el foco en la composición, en la producción, la grabación y demás, en un detalle que nunca habíamos visto antes, poniendo a Madonna como compositora y como cantante, que es lo que nos interesa a los fans de la Madonna musical. Así que thank you, Giulio, for taking Madonna and putting the spotlight on what we really like about her, which is her music. Giulio is an artist manager, cultural events planner, media consultant, and a Madonna fan.
Yep.
Curiously.
I don't think if somebody not a fan would have made this book. I mean, you have to be a fan to make a book like this.
So,
Yeah, I dare to say that maybe this is the most important Madonna book ever made.
I don't know about that.
I think it
Yes.
is.
maybe because it's celebrating her work as a musician, which is always overlooked. And think
Yeah,
This was my goal. This was my intention.
it was necessary. Yeah.
I thought so.
Yep.
Yes.
Your first experiences were in Broadway, New York, and now you're head of mass music media, and you're manager of Luigi and Yango, and previously you worked with Mika, the singer Eros Ramazzotti,
Yes.
and you've worked with Universal Music. Worked actually with the launch of MDNA and Rebel Heart of
Yes.
in Italy, and I think your first job ever was correspondent of the official Madonna fan club back in the 90s. Actually, you worked for Icon, right? As a correspondent.
Yes. I just want to say first, I don't manage Luigi and Iago. I worked with them for an exhibit that they did in Milan. You remember Madonna came to see it. I directed that event where Rocco Ricci did live painting. I also did the opening. So it was just an artistic consultancy. I'm not their manager. I wish. They're so good.
Well, it's a forecast.
Anyway, my first paid job was to work for OMFC. I started sending articles from Italy with the promotion of Erotica so that I would have my column that they would publish me. And then they asked me if I wanted to represent them because they wanted to broaden the subscriptions and obviously sell the merchandising from Boy Toy. But so for a few years, I was the representative in Italy, and I felt blessed because my friends I was at university the first 2 or 3 years, and I was at university, and my friends to make money to support their studies had to be waiters in pizzerias and stuff like that. Very tiring jobs, and my job was fun, Madonna all the time. Promoting Madonna, getting Madonna Icon magazines promoted. So it was like, wow. And I make money, little money. I made less money than working in a pizzeria, but I didn't get tired like that.
You already were a Madonna fan by then, right?
Yes, I started in 1995. Sí. Me apasioné por Madonna en 1985.
All right, with that version.
With Into the Groove.
Into the Groove, okay.
You got hooked with Into the Groove. We were going through our archives in Icon, and we found your column in...
That's baby me at the British Museum, actually. I remember taking this picture in London.
That picture is at British Museum. Yes, you were reporting from Italy, and that's 93, I think, 92, 93?
92, 93, yes. And the picture at the bottom is the fans outside of Madonna's hotel where she premiered Erotica. And the funny thing is that now I live around the block from that hotel. It's here.
That's amazing. So that's your first job. And now we want to first get to know... Oh, and we have the other one.
When she did Partita Doppia. But I did it for a few years. Every time she would come to Italy to promote, or maybe they would ask me to send chart positions or opinions. It was beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah, I would have loved to be correspondent as well. So we first we would like to get to know you as a fan. So we will make you a questionnaire, that the Icon questionnaire, the classic Icon questionnaire that we do to all our to all of our...
I feel blessed. Thank you for that. I love it.
I'm ready. First, okay, name, age, and residence.
No.
You can say age if you want.
My name is Giulio. I'm 51. I live in Milano, Italy.
Okay. And how long have you been a Madonna fan, and what first attracted you to Madonna?
1985. I discovered it through a friend of mine at school who suggested that I get interested in Madonna because I liked that she liked Duran Duran, and I said I want my idol to. And she presented Madonna to me, and I heard Into the Groove and saw the Dress You Up video. And when I saw that, I was instantly hypnotized by her charisma and her performance talent. That was really what attracted me to her first.
Well, do you remember what's your first Madonna item you collected?
Yes, it's a special magazine there were a lot in the news kiosks, and you could go and buy not only magazines but Madonna specials. They used to make specials about all the singers, and teenagers would buy them. So it's beautiful. It's 12-inch. It's shaped like a record, but it's a magazine. That was my first one, and the first record that I bought was the single for Gambler, and then the cassette for the first album.
Nice. And do you have a favorite item in your collection?
Oh, favorite one. I don't know. I think the oldest are the ones you cherish the most. But yeah, the old magazines. I really like my very, very old magazines.
Okay. So, favorite album?
It's tough. With so many, but I would say Erotica is definitely one of the top 3.
Good. You're on my team because I think that's the best album. Favorite song?
Again, it's very, very difficult. You have to know that I have a playlist in my iTunes on my phone, and since 2004, every 2 years I adjourn it and I call it Madonna Favorites. I listen to every song, and then I compile my chart, and I pick the top 40. And the positions move and change a little bit. But at the top, there is always Vogue, there is always Erotica, there is always Secret, Into the Groove, and Open Your Heart. These are the 5 that are always in the top 10. And then I also have more recent songs. I really love Celebration. I really love Ghost Town.
Nice.
Yep, you're okay. I like that you include new ones. Okay, your favorite video?
Somebody asked me this question the other day, and I said Vogue, but I would say all the videos that she made with David Fincher. All of the 4 videos she made. Oh Father, Bad Girl, and Express Yourself and Vogue. Those 4 are my favorites. I really, really like them.
Do you have a favorite movie?
Yes, it would be Dangerous Game, Snake Eyes, and Evita.
Okay, and favorite tour?
The Girly Show.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
Of course. I traveled to Paris. I saw 3 shows, front row, every night.
Wow.
I was exhausted at the end, but it was memorable. I also saw Blonde Ambition, which I reckon is it's a game changer in the music history. But Girly Show was more similar to me. It's more theatrical, it's more sophisticated, it's more poetic. So it reflects me. And also, I really, not just to mention old stuff, I really, really like MDNA.
Yes.
Oh, that's my favorite. Yep. And te toca.
Favorite B-side?
Into the Groove.
Okay, that's tricky.
Supernatural. Supernatural.
Okay. Favorite tour section?
Tour section.
Yes.
When I saw MDNA the first time, it was in Israel at the premiere.
Wow.
And then the following 2 weeks later, and 2 weeks later, I saw Madonna in Rome. I worked with her. We did some interviews, and she asked me about the show. She said, "Have you seen the show?" And I said, "Yes, I was in Tel Aviv." And she asked me to say what I liked about it. And I said that the section where she did Vogue and Erotic Candy Shop and Human Nature and Like a Virgin was the best I had ever seen. And that, to me, it was like Girly 2.0. And she touched my elbow and said, "Sweet."
Okay. All right.
So that's the thing. You got my answer.
That's a nice anecdote.
Okay, there's the last question in this questionnaire is, what would you say to Madonna? But we know, you just told us that you met Madonna several times. What was the first thing you told her?
You're late.
What did she say?
She was not that late as famously late with the shows, but she stepped into the room. She did say, "Hi, sorry, thanks for waiting." And I said, "You're late, but we can't catch up. Let's get to work." I introduced myself and said, "Let's get to work." And she appreciated it because Liz told her I was a fan. So I didn't go through, "Oh my God, I adore you, yada, yada." I did say that I'm very honored to work with you, but you're late. Let's get to work.
I think she that's what she appreciates when she's talking with the other person, that treat her like just a regular person. Like if you have to tell her that she's late, tell her she's late.
Yep.
Well, I risked.
You did it. I'm sure she liked it. Well, that was our questionnaire. So let's move on. And again, thank you. I think I speak for both of us when I say thank you for making the book we wanted to read on Madonna. And our listeners know that we love to peek on the making of her records, her songs, her craft. And I know they will love it too, because it not only makes focus on the popular tracks, but all of them, shedding light on deep cuts and things songs you kept hearing since you were a kid and wondering how they came to be. And I think this is going to become a Bible for most of us now. So what drove you to make this book?
Well, exactly the same things that you said. So this makes me very, very, very happy because it was my intention. And as a fan, I said, why isn't there a book that really celebrates the music, that focuses on the music? I mean, there are a couple, and they're all pocket books. They're very small, and they come from being part of series of books about many artists. So, oh, Mate, I'd love to have one. They're part of series of books, editorial lines. So I don't blame the writers, who are also fans, not to have expanded the entries. But what got me started was buying a book about the songs of Prince. That was really big and really beautiful, and I loved it. It was Christmas. It was my gift to myself for Christmas 2 years ago. And I said, I wish there was a book about this, about Madonna like this, song by song. And there's none. And I kept looking at this book, and the same writer had done it about David Bowie and Freddie Mercury. And then I kind of like foresaw the future. If they ever make another book like this, it's going to be Sting or Elton John or Bruce Springsteen. A, it's not going to be a woman. B, it's not going to be Madonna. So we need a book like that. Why isn't there a book like that? I kept asking these questions to myself and to my dear friend Matthew Rathenmoon, who wrote Encyclopedia Madonica. He's a very, very dear friend of mine, and he's very direct. And he said, well, you make it. Otherwise, nobody will write it. And I said, are you sure? I'm not even sure I can write a book in English. I don't want to do it just for Italy. He said, yes, you can. And so he planted that seed in me. Now, we've been friends since 1991. We were pen pals.
Wow.
And every time I've been to New York, and for a while I lived there, we saw each other. And then we went onto email, fax, and then email. And now we text a lot. We send texts a lot, all the time. We never speak. One day I told him I had started writing the book, but was unsure if I should find the time and energy to dedicate myself to this. And he called me. He just grabbed the phone and I said, Giulio, you get on and make this book. And I said, but this year I also want to get married. I want to prepare the wedding with my husband. and this is going to take me all the time, and I'm not going to be ready. And he said, well, push back your wedding if it takes that. And that made me laugh, because it reminded me of when Liz Rosenberg released an interview where she said that when her fiancé proposed, she said, yes, but first I will go on tour with Madonna and then we can get married. So I think it's history repeating. And so I managed to finish the book and get married in September.
Oh, you did all perfect.
So yeah, my intention to make this book was exactly to give you what you said. That's what makes me very, very happy.
That makes us very happy as well. And of all of the interviews I read on people who's worked with her in music projects, they all agree on the fact that she's a real music creative genius, because that's what you try to shed a light on in this book, and that she never gets the proper credit on it. That's, I think, what you mean as well when you talk about that they will make another book on Sting, or I don't know, any other male, but not on Madonna. You talk to a lot of these people. You've made interviews that nobody else had even got before. Did they give you this impression as well? What do you think this is?
Well, like you said, my intention was to prove that Madonna is exactly the opposite of what they say, a product of marketing, calculation, and the other thing is manager of herself, and she chooses the right producer at the right time to stay on the wave. No, the truth, as we know, is that she controls her creativity, and even when she finishes songs that other people wrote, she makes it a Madonna song unmistakably. Now, she has gone through all the styles, from dance to disco to R&B to pop to 1930s pastiche to underground hip hop, electronica, everything, musical, rock. She's done everything, and yet every time you put on a Madonna song, people will go, oh, this is Madonna. So you cannot say that with all the producers she has changed, it was their merit. It's something of a collaboration, and that was my intention. And then I found out instead that not only the interviews that I did, but also the interviews that I found in books and magazines and TV interviews that I quoted, in every chapter of the book, there's about 50, 60 footnotes. So everything is scientifically proven where it comes from. I really wanted it to be a serious book, not just fan chapter. It's a fact where people have said that. William Orbit said that to Rolling Stone magazine in May 1998. I really want people to check the facts. And what surprised me is that all these people said, she made me better. I never had hits as big as the ones I made with her. She really starts the conversation on the artistic creation. She gives something unique. The same beat, if I had given it to another singer, it would have not been so nice. Everybody has said that.
And that's something that you hear from everyone who worked with her, not only producers, as well as dancers, photographers. Everybody who works with Madonna always said that working with her makes them better.
It's true. I focused on music, but it happens in every aspect. And to me, it was really important to give Madonna credit for being a musician first and foremost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and making pop songs apparently is something that comes out really naturally from her. Reading interviews from I'm thinking Patrick Leonard talking about the making of like Rare, saying that they did the songs like one day, a song in one day and whatnot, and that's such a piece of art history. And do you think she's aware of her creative power?
She is. She is. Even Rick Knowles told me they wrote together for 9 days and they made 9 songs. So, including stuff like The Power of Goodbye and Little Star, not just little stuff, you know. She knows. I think she's fully aware. There's an interview where Nelly Furtado said, Madonna is an incredible songwriter, and she knows, but she doesn't give a shit that she doesn't feel she has to prove it. She knows it in her heart. And I think that's true, which is why Madonna hardly ever looks back and doesn't do a lot of celebratory things that other artists do, because she's more interested in the process, in the creative process. And creation is the opposite of celebration of your past. And so, like she says, there's only so much you can learn in one place.
Yes.
The experience.
Yes, that's what we love about her. And you got to talk with some of these geniuses that worked with her, because they are geniuses. How was your experience with them? Were they open to chat with you? Were they reluctant? How was that?
Some of them didn't answer my request. Some of them were a bit reluctant, and then they gave in. Some others said no. It depends. Like Rick Knowles preferred only to have an email correspondence. But in the end, he gave me great quotes, and he was very collaborative. Others liked the idea of getting on Zoom and talking. And sometimes the conversation would derive and we would talk for hours. Paul Pesco from the Virgin Tour and the Girly Show and the music building sessions, we've become friends. We send texts to each other.
Amazing.
We have fun. We chat a lot. It's really something sweet and nice. Stephen Bray initially said no. Actually, he wouldn't answer. He would just ignore me because he was very, very busy. Not ignore me, but he didn't have the time to come back to me.
Yeah.
Then in his mind, he thought, I'm not going to do this. But then I insisted. I kept sending an email like every month for many months. And then eventually he said, well, I would send him pictures from my record collection. I have a lot of records that he produced, not just Madonna. I am a very big fan of Stephen Bray's music. So he was impressed because he saw in the pictures something that he didn't have. And so he was like, okay, I will speak to him. And then he said, 45 minutes, and then I have to go. But after 2 hours and 45 minutes, I said, thank you so much. I have finished my questions. He loved chatting. So yes, it was beautiful.
No. Go ahead.
Some of them were very generous. He told, actually, Stephen Bray told Rick Knowles to answer my questions. He said, I know that you also called Rick Knowles, and we've been talking about you. I will tell him to answer your questions. And like 2 days later, I had everything. Whereas, again, for weeks, he was saying, maybe not. I don't have much time. I'm sorry. I hope you understand. And then, bang, I received my answers 2 days later.
I'm curious on what's the connection between Stephen Bray and Rick Knowles? Because Rick Knowles
they live in Los
from
Angeles. They're in the music. They live in Los Angeles. They're in the music community. They're all very active. Stephen works a lot, and so does Rick Knowles. So they know each other. It's a small world.
Yes. Is there anyone that you wanted to reach and it was hard, or you didn't get to meet?
I didn't even try. I would have loved to speak to Mirwais, but at one point I had to choose who I wanted to interview, because also I wanted to balance the information in the book so that for every chapter there would be enough information. So some chapters don't have an interview, like the Confessions chapter doesn't have any specific interview, but Stuart Price has been so generous and informative about his process with Madonna that I didn't need to have more. Otherwise, the book would have been 1,000 pages. You know, it's 700. It's really big, you guys. I had to cut stuff, you know. So, and with Mirwais, I really admire his work with Madonna. I love his records, and I would have loved to interact with him. But then I sent him a message, and I didn't try again when there was no answer, because I realized he had spoken a lot about American life, and even Madame X has given a couple of interviews. So I didn't. I would have loved to speak to William Orbit. We did quite a big number of exchange on email, but eventually he decided not to speak. He said, "I'm sorry, no." He said yes and maybe and no and yes, no. And then I'm like, okay, I have to go ahead with my book. So thank you so much anyway. But well, I would have loved to maybe again Patrick Leonard, but he has given so many interviews and we know so much of his work. I also know he's a bit bitter about being asked all the time about Madonna. He would have said no.
Yeah, that's what happens with people that works with Madonna. They feel that they're being, condemned to speak about Madonna all the time. But some of them are happy about that. Some of them are not so happy about that. One I would like to talk about, not because he hasn't talked about in the past, but because to know how he feels about about now, is Shep Pettibone. But, I know he's hard. You didn't try. There's a rumor that he has some business here in Argentina. So I will look up that line and we'll keep you posted. But
I know how to reach him, but I didn't try again because he's given a couple of interviews a couple of years ago to Billboard magazines, plus the things he had said in the past. I was pretty happy. I tried to reach Tony Shimkin, his musical partner, but I didn't get him. And again, he has done a lot of interviews. It would have been great to speak to them. But on the other hand, from that period, nobody knows anything about the Andre Betts songs. So I focused on that, and I was very lucky because I started calling everyone who worked on those songs, and I managed to interview the sax player from Where Life Begins and Secret Garden, Danny Welensky. He answered a few questions. Then I started calling, I looked at the credits and looked for every musician. And then there was Doug Wimbish, he's miscredited on the album with another name like Wimbush, like Douglas Wimbush or something like that. So it was hard to find him. And then I realized he's the bass player from Living Color, and he did Diva for Annie Lennox, Precious, Wally, that album. And he was very generous, and we had such a nice conversation. He told me so many things, and I would ask questions that were like, this is a question for Andre Betts, not for me. He was the producer. You should ask Andre Betts. You should ask Andre Betts. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to give you Andre's number. You have to speak to him. And that's how I found Andre Betts, who has never given interviews, and he's not on social media. Actually, he is, but he's under a strange name or whatever. He's now a photographer who also does some music. And he was extremely friendly and super nice. And he gave me a lot of insight on Madonna's creativity for those songs. So I was blessed. That was magic.
Yes, because Andre Betts' songs on Erotica are magical, are the touch that makes Erotica so distinctive. Because, you have the Shep songs, but Andre Betts are the young part of Erotica.
And also very sophisticated. I don't know how they found this recipe that Madonna was at the same time reaching out to the new hip-hop community and at the same time making something very adult contemporary, like a jazz, like sophisticated, like Secret Garden is so elegant and sophisticated. So yes, it was great to speak to him, even about songs like Dear Father, like demos, and he would tell me all about the days that they spent in the studio. And I'll tell you this. There's these in the remix of Justify My Love, Madonna says, "Come on, baby, you can fuck with me."
You can fuck with me, yeah.
It's because Andrea used to record everything in the studio, not just when she was singing. So the moment they started, she went into the booth, and Lenny Kravitz went in, and you can hear it in the unreleased stems of the song. And he says, we're gonna try some things when we start. We will fuck with your voice, and I hope you don't mind.
Yeah.
And she said, that's okay, you can fuck with me. And then he used "you can fuck with me" in
And he said, and if you listen closely, you can hear from the other side of the booth Lenny Kravitz saying, "Oh, we will."
Oh yes, something like that. Yes, he did say that he was there, and it was very steamy. The situation got steamy.
Yes,
and Andre Betts was a new producer. He had never done anything big, just a single with Lenny Kravitz for another artist. It was a cover of Curtis Mayfield's Superfly. So that was the first time he was really like at a producing level. Madonna believed in him. She could have gone for someone big and famous. She just chose two unknown producers. I mean, Shep Pettibone was very famous, but just as a remixer. He had never composed from zero. So she was very courageous with that album.
Yep. We want to talk about now talk about a little bit of Latin music, because you know, in the 90s there was a kind of Latin music explosion in the US, rising Latin superstars, probably because of a growing migratory current, hungry for Latin representation there. But Madonna was ahead of her time once again with tunes like La Isla Bonita from 1986. And her connection with Latin culture is way ahead of her from her early stages of her career.
Yes.
You feel Evita, which is from 96, mid-90s, was the peak of that Latin connection. And I would also like you to elaborate that I know that your essay when you graduated from college was on the musical Evita, that I was really...
It wasn't on the musical, it was on Evita. So it's about Eva Peron, it's about the musical, it's about the movie, it's about the record of the 70s, it's about all about Evita. It's not just... So the first 60 pages were about Eva Peron. I wrote this thesis because I wanted to say it was about the product of the mass media culture. So she was as well a mass media cultural phenomenon. She was a huge communicator. So the first part is on Eva Peron. Then it's about the record that Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice made, which was turned into a theater show, which was turned into Madonna's movie, which then went to theater in Italy at the time I was writing. So these were the 5 chapters of my book. I really think that Madonna married the Latin musical culture way early in her experience. She hasn't mentioned anything about her childhood or the time she spent in Michigan, where she was more influenced by Motown and also jazz, because her brothers and uncles, who are very close of age to her, were all listening to this kind of music or rock. But when she moved to New York, she got, in the downtown scene, she got connected to the Puerto Rican culture and to the Latin Caribbean culture with a lot of people, like Kid Creole and the Coconuts. Coti Mandi, who also was in Who's That Girl? They were friends when she wasn't famous. And obviously Jelly Benitez, being from Puerto Rico, I think that's it. It's the time when things started for her to find this passion for percussions, especially, and for melodic Latin flavors. And La Isla Bonita was the first thing, or maybe it's Saturday Night Live when she did La Bamba. Marica.
La fabulosa Marica.
Loco.
I think that was the first thing she did, Latin flavored. But seriously, La Isla Bonita was that, although it wasn't, to be critically honest, I think it was it was Gloria Estefan who said, it's not a proper song. It's a bit Spanish, it's a bit Cuban, it's a bit Caribbean, there's Mexican, there was everything. It was a mixture, but it was beautiful, and it really made an impression on the market worldwide.
Sí, claro.
Other people were making Latin flavored songs, but that is now, even now, 40 years later, in pop music, it's considered a super classic. And then she made more and more, because she kept saying she felt like she was Latin in another life. And as we know, she called her daughter with a Latin name. Her Lourdes' father is Cuban, and she collaborated with many artists. Even her dogs were all named in Spanish language: Papito, Rosita, Evita, all of these things.
Chiquita.
And Chiquita, and she spent years in. Well, actually, you know what? When she went to Miami to make the sex book, she found this house and she said, "I love it here. I will move it. I will move here." It was before Miami became trendy. It was before that wave of Latin music, and she found the community there, and she understood and she liked it there very much. And she sold the house only after marrying Guy Ritchie. So she spent many years. It was her buen retiro, and she created a lot of things there. And so yeah, I don't know if Evita is the peak of her thing, because I think Madame X is a very Latin record. So even 20 years later, she did this world music record that touched so many Latin countries.
We at Santa Madonna are great supporters of Madame X. We love Madame X.
I love it too. So I think there is no peak, but obviously Evita was everything. And it came at a moment when everything was fashionable about that, because of, again, Gloria Estefan and Ricky Martin and Marc Anthony, and there were so many, and the market was opening up, and Madonna was there in presence. She made Veraz, she did so many other things, and it was authentic. It's not that she jumped on the bandwagon. It's very real. I want to say this, speaking of Latin music, is that in the book I go in a chronological order, but something I haven't spoken much about is that I had this idea of putting playlists that are cross-referentials. So it's not just in chronological order, but there's also a playlist about the movie soundtracks that she's done, the ballads, the heartbreak songs, the prayers, and there's one about the Latin flavored songs. Now you open the book, you see the list of all the songs that are Latin flavored, obviously, that she has released. And there's a QR code, and you go onto Spotify and you can listen to these songs. So it's just a little thing that I wanted to add to my book.
It's an amazing idea.
Let me see. Actually, it wasn't mine. It was a friend of mine who's a fan. He said, "Why don't you put that?" Very early, when I was still starting to write the book. Here it is. I really like that. You see, there's a QR code. These are the Latin flavored songs, and then you click on it and you go on Spotify and you can listen to them.
Nice.
Amazing. I did play the playlist on Latin flavored songs, and I loved it. Great selection. And tell me a little bit more about Evita. What obviously we're attracted by it from Madonna, but how did your perspective on the musical change over the years, or how did you like it in the end? And tell us a bit about your connection to it.
Before Madonna before the movie came out, I already knew Evita by heart, because I had seen it in theater when I was 18 here in Milan, and I always liked it. I like musicals, but not so many. And I wasn't a big fan of Evita, because compared to some American musicals, which are easier and more melodic, especially the Stephen Sondheim musicals, which I really like. The Andrew Lloyd Webber musicals are called rock operas. They're a bit more heavy, and they don't have many hit songs. They're more conceptual. But I really was fascinated by this character. And what I didn't like is that it was very, very critical of the Perons, especially Eva. Extremely, extremely critical, like making fun of them. And then
Cynical.
when Madonna made the movie, her and Parker, I forgot his name. He's the director. Oh my God, I forgot his
Alan
first
Parker.
Alan, sorry. Alan Parker, they both insisted on humanizing Eva, so portraying her in a way that it like everybody else has its ups and its downs. A character that is multifaceted, that is very ambitious, but is also very generous. And so, like Madonna always said, it's a very complicated character. Sometimes somebody call her a saint, somebody call her a puta. So there's a lot, and I love the variety that they gave to it. Also, in the musical, it was written as an aggressive part, very operatic, very strong, over the lines. And instead, because of the movies like that, in your face, and you see their nostrils when they're singing, you don't want to be over the top. They had to take everything down. And so I think they made a beautiful, beautiful soundtrack. And it's fantastic. And it's interesting that they changed little things for Madonna. I speak about it in the Evita chapter. Like they gave her...
I did read your Evita chapter, and it's we never got to see the Evita musical here in Argentina. It wasn't premiered, but it's really interesting to see the differences. You make a really good point on every song, on the differences between the musical and how they changed a lot of things from... I did hear the soundtrack of the Broadway and London versions, but it's really interesting how you go through each song, describing the differences between them and how they make reprises or verses taking from... it's a really wonderful analysis, and I really like the soundtrack. I agree with you with that they are harsh, but then again, they took they based the musical on a book that was not really, but was a little bit biased.
Yes.
So it's difficult, but
it's true. But at the same time, they made a beautiful work of explaining why she was so iconic. You know, Eva Peron was so famous even in Europe, and when she died, she even became more famous for dying young, like Lady Diana. When I made my graduation essay, my grandfather's sister was in a retirement house, and she was an intellectual, but she had stopped speaking because she was tired and bitter with life. She only spoke little words, and we would take her every Sunday to our house for lunch to distract her, to give her company, and she would stay with us until dinner time. Then we would drive her back to the retirement house. And the day that I had my graduation essay, she saw Evita. She saw it and she said, she died. You know, she spoke, and she remembered that 50 years before Eva Peron had died. So that was the magnificent thing of how big the myth of Evita was. And I was very happy that Madonna made that movie. And I love the music in that record. By the way, Emilio Estefan produced the percussions in Buenos Aires, but in the record, he's not credited. He also consulted.
That I learned from your book.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Madonna mixed the whole album, and she was very involved, and I really loved it.
That was something that surprised me, that she was involved in the mixing of the album. Yeah.
Not surprising at all, because she wasn't allowed to produce it. So she said, I will sit down, but it sounds good. Because in the end, you can produce whatever you want, but it's how you mix it that makes the difference. So she gave those men the impression that they were in power. And then she sat down at the desk next to David Reitzes and said, okay, now let's mix it.
I want to talk about something else that's in your book, that you talk about a magical set of events in Madonna's career, which is the 1983 club tour.
80, yes.
Where she was promoting her first singles in some clubs and discos across the US and some European cities. You include some info and dates that were previously in the dark. I did try to put together that information many times as well. It's such a mess, but it's such a beautiful period because she was so hungry for fame and to present her material. How was that research?
To be honest, I was helped by the fantastic Instagram account Weibo 1958. Weibo, Jay from London is amazing. He does an incredible, meticulous job of research, and he helped me navigate that. Also, he has been himself trying to update the Setlist FM website, where they have all the people's concerts, but other people are putting in dates, so it's a bit confused. I haven't put down all the dates. I just chose the ones that we're totally sure of, and it's really fascinating to think that Madonna was performing in clubs for small audiences. There's a picture that doesn't technically look very good, but I put it full page from one guy that was very young, Ore Alva, that with his little disposable camera saw Madonna in 1983 at the Copa in Florida, and he took these pictures. So I wanted to grab that super vintage moment, and it was super fun that she started performing Everybody and then would add song after song, and also that she put together the routines with Erika and Bags, and sometimes with Martin Burgoyne or with Christopher. She would have her dancers, she would put together her little show, and she would sing on top of tracks, which was something not too common at the time. Grace Jones invented the club tours. Instead of going to do concerts with live band, she just showed up, put the record on, and started singing. Madonna was one of the few others who started doing that around that time. And she started with getting zero money. It was just for promotion. And then like $500, $300 per night. And then she became like 5,000. And then she stopped. So it was just between the release of Everybody in November 82 until December 84. And then she went to do the Tube in London at the Hacienda Club in Manchester, where she did those two songs that we saw on TV, but that was a TV show. I think her last club show is the one in Boston that we have some footage of, where she also did Lucky Star. And also Erika recounted on Twitter that sometimes they even did a No Big Deal. So it would be fantastic to find a performance of that, and that she really loved it.
Wow, that's shocking. I'd love to see a No Big Deal live. That's like the only ever B-side that Madonna has done ever live. Well, except for Cyber Raga on MDNA.
There we go.
But that's
excuse me.
It's okay. We need a footage. We would need.
I would love to see it. I also interviewed Guy Guido, who made the movie about the Breakfast Club, and he helped me a lot with research, finding information and contacts, and he helped me get the pictures from Dan Gilroy and Gary Burke, and I spoke to Gary Burke a lot. And the great thing is that Guy told me how he first saw Madonna perform in May 83 before the album came out. And he's another one super blessed guy. So I wish I was one of them.
I want to it's moving how you're on this conversation. You've come up with a lot of names that maybe our listeners are not too familiar, but I remember all of these fans and people that Weibo, Guy Guido, there's been so much help from a lot of people. I mean, it's a network of people who admire Madonna's work, helping each other together to bring her legacy to a better status. It's moving, actually. It's I don't know, just a reflection, but it's
every
really
time I would
lovely.
every time I would ask these people to contribute, they were like, "Absolutely, I really want this to be known. People should know how Madonna is talented. Let's work on that." And everybody has agreed to that. Donna
Yes.
Delore gave me an incredibly long interview. Mike McKnight, my friend Demo Castillon, so many were generous with talking.
Actually, that leads me to my next question, because we know you've talked with many elusive Madonna collaborators, and Andrea Betts, Steve Ray. I wanted to ask you about Mike McKnight and Paul Pesco, because they've worked with her in her tours.
Yes.
What did they share with you from the road? Paul Pesco specifically has had a long run with Madonna. She's been with her from before she was Madonna.
He gave me a beautiful photo of Madonna on the Virgin Tour bus that he shot himself as she reads a movie script that is really, really beautiful. The thing that helped me convince all these people to talk to me for the book is that I promised my book would not be about gossip, celebrity, scandals, secrets. Yeah. I just wanted to comment the art. And that's when people clicked and they would say, okay, I will do it for you, because it was never like, how did she look? Which men were she dating at the time? Stuff like that. Never, ever, ever. And so that's why they opened their heart. At the same time, my questions were very specifically addressed to how working was. The one thing super funny was, hard to believe now that Madonna is famous for taking her time, is that she always demanded everybody to be on time at rehearsals on the girly show. And one day, Jay Winding, the musical director, had to send out a message to all the band saying, whoever is late will have to pay from their salary for the hours they miss. And so she kept everything very tight and precise. But at the same time, she really was also fun to work with on in the studio, rehearsing for the tour and even on the road. And Mike McKnight explained to me how hard she was to work with, in terms of it takes a lot of hard work. Like, she's very demanding. Hard in the terms of you never fool around. You don't mess with things. You don't do things halfway. And so he said, sometimes I was forced, because of the timing it took to program a computer and to make things work, I would have to sleep on the couch and not go home between Monday and Tuesday. But the thing is that she was always very early in the studio the next day. So she was not someone who would just like call from the jacuzzi, with a glass of champagne, saying, change the arrangement, I don't like it, and hang up. Things that we see in the movies. Madonna was like, no, she was sitting next to him and saying, okay, fix this. And then as the technical time took, she would go and rehearse with the dancers. So these are two important things I got. We like
to fantasize. In Santa Madonna, we made a special episode on what would have been the Ray of Light tour, and we fantasized our set list. And I remember reading in your Instagram stories that somebody asked you if you knew if there was a set list prepared for the Bedtime Stories tour, and you said that there wasn't, because it was next before it was even prepared. So do you know anything else about tours that, or have they shared with you some of this, or anything?
If I know these things, it's because I was very careful with the things that she would say or would come out. For instance, at the same time, when at the Bedtime Story launch party, she told Kurt Loder, I think I won't go on tour. She was writing on Icon, I'm not able to go on a regular capacity tour, so maybe I will do something smaller. She was thinking of events, like 3-4 big events or one big concert, because she needed time to start preparing for Evita. So that is why I say there was no set list, because she hadn't even decided which type of tour to go on with. So, so I don't know anything about these things. Maybe in her mind, maybe she had discussed things with others, but my book is not about. I remember Luca Tomasini once said that maybe she was wanting to do bedtime story like at the Brit Awards. Yeah, obviously, but it's not consistent information. So that's why that's the type of information I would skip. I didn't mention that. I did not mention that in my book, but I remember now that Christopher Ciccone, in his biography, said that originally for the Ray of Light tour, they had prepared something that would go across the 4 seasons, and that there would be a tree that would change with the leaves and the flowers that would stay there throughout the show. And that he was disappointed when Madonna didn't call him, but called Jamie King to make the Drowned World tour 2 years later. And there was the tree in the Japanese section. So maybe that's about the conversations that she was having with her brother about the Ray of Light tour.
Yeah, we use that to fantasize our set list on the 4 sections of our Ray of Light tour. So one more thing I'd like to ask you is about the experience you've had, which made me so jealous, that I've been wanting to have since the early 2000s. It's a nerdy experience. You've been to the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
I'm jealous too.
We're jealous. You've listened to the obscure demo tapes. Did you get to hear warning signs? Because we tried to recreate it. But tell us about what's in the Library of Congress. How does that work, and how was that experience?
I found the lyric sheets of warning signs, the same that you use to produce your demo. I asked Stephen Bray about it and said, it's very weird. It's very weird. Because he said, it's not us, but people put together a song. So he was surprised when he heard it. Weird.
He knows
about warning signs. Yes, he knows about it.
Oh.
Okay. Sorry, composture. Bray heard Santamadonna's warning signs?
Yes, and it was like, could they make it? And I said, at the library, there's the lyric sheets, the music sheets. So they played it. Oh, that's how it happened.
Did he like it?
He didn't say if he liked it or not, but he was super surprised that it would manifest itself. I thought I was the only one next to Madonna to know this song, and instead somebody played it. So he was like, I don't know, did you have an oracle? How did you find this information? And I think they got it from the music sheets from the Congress Library. When I went to visit this place, when I decided to go to this place, I did it because it started from Bruce Barron in the 90s writing articles about the unreleased Madonna songs for a magazine called Goldmine, which is very, very quoted on Wikipedia. There is a lot on Wikipedia from his articles, and a lot of us fans base our information on unreleased Madonna songs from that article. And he had done this research, and then there was another one that wrote beautiful articles from going to the library. So I said, if I want to make this book serious, I want to go to that library and I want to find out what's in there. Now they have a very old-fashioned research engine that you can go through, and they taught me by remote how to understand what all the symbols and initials meant. So there are songs that people sent for copyright with a tape, some others with a music sheet, some others with nothing, just a registration file. And so I navigated for months to find the Madonna songs. Now, they stopped doing this at the end of the 90s because the process of digitalization changed the way they do this. But so I focused on the 20th century, and I found titles and I requested the documents and information. At one point, my list was getting really long, and they informed me that there was a cost, which is not cheap. And I paid quite a lot of money. And then it took months for them to tell me, you can come on this day. And as a matter of fact, I decided, like, I have to pay a flight to go all the way to Washington from Italy. Is it worth it? Will I be able to find the things that I need? And then I said, okay, Madonna is touring at the same time around those cities. And so I decided to go to New York City and see the celebration tour and then go to Washington. But then they changed my date. And so I couldn't go to New York. And thankfully, I went to Philadelphia instead. It's very...
Did you like the celebration tour?
Yes, of course. I really loved it. And it was really fantastic, but at the same time painful, because you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Also, I made a list of 24 tapes and they only gave me like 10 because they couldn't find them, because it took too long. And I wasn't reimbursed for the money I paid for the other tapes. Long story short, I was very happy to find demos and cassettes, like even something not really useful. Like everybody has the pre-Madonna album that Stephen Bray made, but I had the tapes. But the original, I listened to the original tapes that he sent back in 1982. So it was really cute. And they're identical in the versions. It's just that personally to know it's the original tape they used to record on. Like the same of the demo Madonna was shopping around the clubs and she gave to Mark Kamins at Danceteria. The same, it's a copy of that. So It was really emotional. And then I found an instrumental of Who's That Girl as the deposit of Who's That Girl. And then I found the demo for Why Is It So Hard that leaked like a few weeks after that, where this is Jamaican singer speaking. Then I found This Used to Be My Playground demo that nobody had spoken about. The song is identical in terms of singing. I think there was an extra verse. I'm not sure. No, it's identical to the long version, to the movie version. Yeah. And the singing is very similar, but not the one that we hear on the record. And there's no background vocals. And Shep Pettibone prepared bass and synth in a it feels like a funeral march. It's a very, very sad song. The arrangement, so it's very sad, very sad. And then they made it another song. It was really interesting. And then obviously I found the tapes from Bedtime Stories, which somebody say might be coming out soon if Madonna decided to put out the 30th anniversary edition of Bedtime Stories. Who knows? I'm not sure. But if she does, I'm only happy because I'm not possessive. I'm not like one of those. I have the famous demo of this and that, and I will never share it with what I'm against these things. I don't really care. It's not our stuff. We don't own it. If we have it, it's illegal. So it's Madonna owning that. It's exactly as Patrick Leonard did with Angels with Dirty Faces. When somebody was auctioning his tape, he said, I don't want people to make money out of a tape they don't own. The music belongs to the musicians. I will leak the demo. That's exactly how things should be, if ever. I know Madonna isn't happy about us hearing songs that she hasn't finished because she likes the finished product only. But we really enjoy these things. So I really enjoyed discovering Something's Coming Over Me, and I Will Always Have You, and Bring It. Bring It is so joyful. It's such a beautiful song. And I couldn't record anything, obviously. They were sitting behind me, watching me for 2 days in a row. I only had pencil and notebook, colored notebook. I think I can show you. And then it was, I think I have it here. And then it was about learning them in my heart. I repeated the tape so many times that I learned them. No, I don't have it.
Oh my God.
I learned the song.
Can you
So
sing it for us?
I could, but I'm not going to. I'm too ashamed. I really want to tell you. You forgive me. I will find it. I don't know.
That's another piece of history. So it was
so
a gratifying experience.
The moment I came out, I started singing them. So it's beautiful. I Will Always Have You is very similar to Inside of Me, but it's not an R&B pop song. It's more an R&B soul song, very 1970s. I kept visioning Madonna singing it like sooner or later in a nightclub with people having drinks at tables, but more in the 70s. Very intense, a torch song, standing by the microphone and being very sad and very intense. I think Inside of Me has hope. She says, I will always have you inside of me. You're close to me, even though you're gone. That other song was like, love carries on, but I lost you. It's more on the other side of the feeling. And the music at one point stops and Madonna says, remember me, and the music starts again, and then it's like
actually Inside of Me, one of the saddest songs. It's a very sad song, Inside of Me,
but it has a little bit of hope compared to I Will Always Have You. I Will Always Have You is like it's like I lost you, but something remains, and very bluesy, like the classic 1970s. It was really striking. And Something's Coming Over Me instead is very similar to an Erotica song. She is very sexy. She moans. It's like the orgy from The Girly Show at some point. It's very sexy. It's very Donna Summer. It's incredible that it's something so similar to Erotica.
I think I remember reading somewhere that it had something of Donna Summer's Love to Love You, I think.
Hot Stuff. Because she goes...
love it.
That thing reminded me of Hot Stuff. But there's a lot of moaning and breathing and sexiness in the song. I'm very upset.
Tempo. Well, hopefully we'll hear it soon.
I hope so.
Hopefully. Again, you had you met Madonna, and tell us if there's a little bit more about those encounters, how it was meeting the idol herself.
It was really special because I was afraid of betraying the love for a myth on the posters on my bedroom wall when I was a teenager, but instead she was very human, and we had, like I said, I used a very human approach, not to be shy or starstruck or something like that. 3 or 4, I think 5 occasions with her, and they changed. When I was with Liz Rosenberg and the 3 of us, she was really, really nice to me that day. The other day, she was generous when we went to give her the platinum disc for MDNA backstage at the Florence concert of MDNA. It was Guy Oziri, the boss of Universal, me, and Madonna only spoke to me and looked at me. So she ignored my boss. And I sensed that she was being grateful for the work we had done with the album. We had gone to #1 and we put a lot of energy. And I made the platinum disc for MDNA using a picture from the Duomo in Milano, the cathedral, which incredibly has a Jewish chandelier, Mehorah, I think is the name, the candle holder with 7 arms, which is very Jewish, but crazily is inside our cathedral. So I was mixing her Kabbalah taste with the Gothic atmosphere. The intro to the MDNA tour is from the Sevilla Cathedral, which is very similar to the Duomo in Milano. It's a Gothic church. So she was like, oh, this is very interesting. She was talking to me and she knew I was in the thing. I was not just going like, let's take a picture. So I remember her staring in my eyes. She had one eye was very red from the makeup. Probably somebody put, or she put a pencil inside her eye. So one eye was really red. And the other one was okay. And by the time she got to the stage, everything was fine. And she looked at me very intensely. In other occasions, she was a bit more detached, or others she was chatty and we had fun. So for everything, I'm grateful.
So you're in good terms with her.
No, I cannot say that. No, it's too much. That is too much. Like for the last time we saw each other was at the Luigi and Yango party, and I directed the show, and Luigi also gave me the responsibility of handling Madonna's arrival and the security around it, where she would go to, because he knew that I know Sara Zambrino and we're good friends. And so I took care of that, but I was very respectful. I wasn't working with her. She was a guest. I was working with Luigi and Iago. So we barely spoke. We just said ciao. So, and I said something at the dinner after the party, but she handed me a piece of cake during the show, during the after party. When she cut the cake, she gave not the first, but one of the first pieces to me. So silently we connected. But I'm not going like, Madonna, you know me, let's be friends. You know, I've always respected that. I know that she has good memory. She knows you. If she sees you once, she will remember you forever. There's no point in going like, remember me. No, she knows, she does. Or if she forgets, it's because she didn't care. So I respect that too. I respect that. But I've been lucky. I never dreamed it would happen.
In social media forums where fans dissect every piece of Madonna's work, there's been great expectation and a wonderful welcoming of your book, which, by the way, has an amazing design by Anthony Coombs, which is a designer who worked in
the amazing Anthony. Anthony has done an amazing job.
Yes, he worked on Matthew Redmon's last editions of Encyclopedia Madonica. Shout out to him. But then again, now that the book is finished and out there, how has this massive, let's say, experience changed your perception on Madonna? And has your favorite record changed? Have you got a better understanding on her?
Okay, how it hasn't changed my perception of Madonna. Like I said, it only confirmed my thesis. I'm very happy to have proven what I meant to say, even to a deeper level. I interviewed people like Tommy Martin, a fantastic guy who did all the guitars on Bedtime Stories, including the songs where you don't expect, even Human Nature. It's not a sample, he played it. He did for all producers, except Babyface. Today I'm tired. He played the songs on the Dallas Austin songs, on the Dave Hall songs, and on Sanctuary, everything. And he told me everything that Madonna explained to him how to play guitar, and that reinforced my feeling of how she is very in control, but also very spontaneous. He said she would arrive in the studio in an Adidas tracksuit and a bandana, and he arrived at the studio the first day. Dallas Austin hadn't said that they were working with Madonna. He said, "Just come, I need you to work in my studio." So he turned around and like, looks like Madonna, and then turned around to Dallas. But then we're like, "Oh, it's you, hi." So she's very simple, relaxed, and she would sit down in the room, grab a microphone, look at her notes, play the beat, let's add this, let's add that, and then, okay, I'm ready. Get the microphone and sing a song like Secret or a song, any other song that they made together, like Survival, straight out of nowhere. And it would hardly ever change. So that's the beautiful, it's things that we know of, but to hear it from people made me admire Madonna even more. And regarding her music, I have reconsidered some songs that I personally was not too fond of. I have learned to appreciate them.
Which one?
I wasn't a big fan of Think of Me. I always thought it was a weak track of the album. And then I realized how perfect of the timing it was, how super R&B it is, I managed to prove that Physical Attraction is a song Madonna wrote, not Reggie Lucas. It was just a publishing deal, which explains why the two songs are very similar and why Madonna sings of seduction like that. It wasn't him writing that song. But also songs that I had left to the side from my past that I really, really liked. I learned to love them again. And so it made me not reconsider, but appreciate more some of her songs. Yes. You know what? Like Jimmy. Everybody laughs at Jimmy. You can like Jimmy and enjoy it, but you don't say it. I'm a big fan of Jimmy. Because people think that it's a silly song. And working on that song, listening to it and analyzing the structure and what they did and the way they wanted to present the album, it's part of a narration that is essential. If you take that out, all that fantasy of the 1950s is not strong enough. And also by replicating the chords of the Supremes and the Motown songs, they managed to bring something up, but at the same time being 1980s. And my conclusion is that don't be harsh on Jimmy. You know, to make something simple is not that easy. I have worked with many singers in my career, and they've always explained to me that it's much easier to write a complicated song that is structured, that is crazy. But if you want to fall down into the scheme, into the even stereotypes of pop music, you have to follow strict rules. If you want to make it nice, it's very hard. So it's not easy to make easy music. So that is something I have learned.
Well, actually, Madonna says I don't remember which which collaborator recalls that she said to him, "I'm good at simple."
Yes.
And I think it sums it up perfectly, because she can metabolize what she does, what everybody thinks it's complex, and she gives you the result of the pop perfection. To sum it up, I want to ask you, if you went on to make, this is your first book, if you went on to make a second book, what would it be about?
This is a big question. You know, I started doing this in a moment in my life when I was giving up my previous job. I stopped representing artists that I was working with for a long, long time, and I needed to find something for myself. And when I then said somebody should make a book about Madonna's music, and then I said, okay, I'll do it myself, it seemed like a good challenge to do something by myself, for myself, and with a specific mission. And now that it's accomplished and finished, I wonder what's going to be next. I have a couple of it. I would love to write another book, but at the same time, you know, the imposter syndrome in me says, you only know about Madonna, you know nothing about anything else. There's only Madonna. I mean, I could never write a book like this about any other star. I only know Madonna so well. It's the only one. But maybe not this thick, but maybe a smaller book. I could write about other things, and I am thinking about it. I would also like to have a follow-up to Songbook about Madonna. Maybe something else, but my focus is the music, so I don't want to, review her movies or stuff like that. So
maybe in a couple of years.
Well, it takes a couple of years to make the book, so I should start in January if I want to release it in a couple of years.
Okay.
I remember I made a very, very precise, I'm very methodic. I've worked in the marketing and publicity industry for a long time. So more than a creative, I am more like a productive person, but I'm learning to develop my creative side. And so when I started making this book, I wrote a project, an editorial presentation. And then I wrote the fourth chapter because True Blue to me seemed easy to write. And then I had a demo. It's like a demo for the whole book. This is one chapter. I need to make 18 like that. And I had a very precise thing. The only thing was the deadline. And I said, I think I would like to finish it by the time. Madonna had just announced the celebration tour. And I said, I will release it when the tour is over, because if she has all these tours, the fans will not have money in their pockets to buy something else. And then she delayed the tour because of her sickness. And I was like, okay, I have some more time. Instead of January, it's going to be May. And then I couldn't finish it for the summer. And I said, it has to be Christmas. So I really worked a lot to finish it this summer. But so again, if I need to make another Madonna book, I need to decide now, or it won't be out until 2027.
We will be expecting it, actually. Because we think this book is a cornerstone for considering Madonna as a musician, which is important for her legacy.
I had two missions, which is why I wrote it in English and not just Italian. A, to give something to the fans to cherish and keep like in your bookshelf, and consult whenever you have a doubt, open it and go like, I want to know about Let Down Your Guard. Also have fun evenings if you want to read it from beginning to end and then die. You're going to be old by the time you finish it. But it's for the fans so that they know everything is in here, or at least everything that I found. And inside the book, there's an address, an email address for Madonna Songbook. If anybody has specific but documented information and wants to contradict what I wrote or add information, I'm really open to it. Who knows that maybe one day I will do a second edition. The other target, the other mission that I had was to give credibility and hope that people who are not Madonna fans but want to know more about her will finally understand that she is a damn good musician and a producer and a songwriter. And she's an amazing storyteller through her songs, especially in countries that are not English speaking like mine and yours. People tend to overlook the lyrics and they just focus on the dancing side or the emotion of the ballads. They have no idea how good Madonna's lyrics are. And they understood that.
Amen. We hope it's a seed for many people to understand her role in music history. This book, which is already a classic. And we're going to say this in Spanish so people know where they can find the book. To our listeners, nuestros oyentes pueden comprar Madonna Songbook de Giulio Mazzoleni desde ahora en Amazon para España y en algunos países de Latinoamérica, y en la web de la editorial Antiga Edizioni, esto es ANTIGA Edizioni, con envío a todo el mundo, y también en la web de AB Books, esto se escribe A B larga, Books, buscando Giulio Mazzoleni, está con envío a precio razonable a Argentina. También entrando al Instagram, @Madonna Songbook, en las primeras historias destacadas van a encontrar todos los links. Y también van a estar subidas a nuestras redes. Y no duden en escribirnos en mensaje privado y les enviamos los links para que ustedes puedan comprarlo. Y no se olviden de seguir al Instagram del libro de Giulio, es @Madonna Songbook. ¿Ok? Eso. Y
Gracias. Muchas gracias.
No.
Todo perfecto.
Nada. So thank you very much, Giulio. Thank you for making the book. On first instance, thank you.
Thank you for reading it. Thank you for.
You're saying you're gonna be old when you finish it, but I did read the one full chapter in a day. So I don't think it's gonna take me so little time to get old. Hopefully. Congratulations and thank you
Muchas
for
gracias.
we are going to also make give away one of the books of Giulio. He's being generous enough to give one to our listeners of Santa Madonna, and we're going to publish in our Instagram stories and Giulio's as well. You have to reply to the trivia that's going to be on what we talked about on the episode. So you need to listen to the episode, of course. And we're going to, Julia's going to send the book to who is replying the right thing. So
I will send it myself. I will send it anywhere in Spain and Latin America. You guys, to any listener, the winner will receive the book from me.
Thank you very much for that, and our listeners are going to be really happy to receive it, and you're being so generous. Giulio, if you ever consider translating it to Spanish, here's a hand. We will love to, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you. I enjoyed this so much.
You've done a wonderful job. So thank you, and have a wonderful day in Milan. And we're going to close now in Spanish again. Síganos en redes. Somos en Instagram, @Santamadonnapodcast.
En Twitter o X somos Madonna.
Por mail nos escriben a santamadonnapodcast@gmail.com.
Y recuerden, si quieren y pueden colaborar con nosotros, pueden hacerlo mediante Patreon, Cafecito, Mercado Pago, PayPal. Tienen los links al final del video o en nuestras redes.
Finalmente agradecemos a Emma Gómez Miranda, nuestro diseñador de gráficas, editor mujer Victorinox, y Santa Madonna somos en las voces
Agustín Aguirre,
Diego Alejandro Parrilla, del otro lado del océano Giulio Mazzoleni, y en la producción Nico Capeluto. Nos vemos después de unas breves vacaciones. Hasta pronto. Gracias por estar aquí.
Hasta luego. Chao.